We're off to Parliament now because there's a developing story that we're watching for you. Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin has admitted two crucial motions filed by the minority. First, the minority wants the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori Atta, to present for approval government's debt restructuring program. The second motion wants Parliament to conduct an investigation into the National Cathedral-related controversies. This wrapped up a very busy week in Parliament where, of course, the EC chairperson and the NIA executives and the Finance Minister have all made appearances before the MPs. But let's get a better understanding of events unfolding in the House now. Kweku Asante is our parliamentary correspondent. Very shortly, we'll hear from some of the MPs as to what they feel about this latest directive from the Speaker. But Kweku, explain to us two issues before the Speaker, and he's admitted all of them. Let's start off with the issues surrounding the Finance Minister. Exactly what's the demand of the minority?
So, Blessed, about 2 weeks ago, Finance Minister Ken Ofori Atta came before Parliament to provide an update on government's debt exchange program. We know that government has determined, the World Bank and other multilateral donors have all determined that Ghana's debt is currently unsustainable, way beyond 100% in terms of the debt to GDP ratio. So, Finance Minister had announced in the 2023 budget that government was going to undertake some debt operation, which culminated into the debt restructuring program, which has been undertaken for some time now. The deadline just 2 weeks ago or so. So the Finance Minister was in Parliament, briefed MPs as to what exactly they were doing to bring the debt level to sustainable levels. The minority on that day indicated that they were not so satisfied with the answers, but because the minister came by way of a statement, they could not do much because statements are not supposed to evoke debate, among other things, as per the standing orders of Parliament. And so the minority indicated, Mahama in particular, was on that floor of the Parliament that day, making the point that specifically Parliament has to approve the specifics of the debt exchange program because they amounted to borrowing, among other things. So that was the point they made at the time. And then the majority side said that no such thing should happen, and it went on and on for some time. So the minority side led by Dr. Kisila Toforsen, Gavin Kwame Agoja, Mahama Yariga, Isaac Adongo, and Roxanne Nelson Eche Dafiamepo filed this private members motion calling on the Speaker of Parliament to admit it, and if it goes through, the Finance Minister will be required to put before Parliament the full details of the debt exchange program, both local and external, for approval, because in the estimation of the minority, the government must come by way and seek an approval from Parliament before it could go ahead and do that. Of course, the majority side disagree, government disagree, but the Speaker has admitted this motion, and if it succeeds, the Finance Minister will be ordered to put before Parliament this particular exchange program for approval.
Okay. Beyond that, we know that the Finance Minister was expected to appear before the House today to answer a number of issues that are already on the minds of the MPs, but he failed to show up. Any explanations for that?
So last week, this week Tuesday was when he was originally scheduled to answer those questions. I think Wednesday instead, he wrote to the Speaker of Parliament that he was meeting China, the delegation from China, of our government's external debt restructuring program. So he did so. He wrote to the Speaker. Because of that, he wasn't going to come on Wednesday. He expected to appear before Parliament on Friday to answer those questions. But when we came before Parliament today, the other paper did not have any of the questions that had originally been advertised to be answered by Ken Ofori Atta. The explanation was that the questions had been rescheduled. Later on, the Finance Minister actually came in before Parliament, but with the explanation that he was not coming to answer the questions. He was only coming because sometimes MPs have raised concerns that he must be around, and because of that, he came around.
Okay.
But did not answer the questions that was originally scheduled for him.
So the understanding is that this would happen at a later time?
Yes, the understanding is that next week, the Finance Minister will be programmed to answer some of these questions that the minority have put before.
Okay, so let's deal with the issue of the National Cathedral and why that is coming up now.
So someone Okudzeto Ablakwa, who has been leading the minority in making these claims about the National Cathedral, have said that there are a number of government expenditures, there are a number of things that have happened around the National Cathedral project, which must be investigated because government has expended some amounts of money. And so he, together with Dr. Kisela Tufosin, Imanolama Kufipua, Gavin Kwame Abuja, Dr. Dominic Ayene, and Helen Adwan to file this private members' motion as well, seeking an investigation. So Parliament, they want Parliament to constitute an investigative committee to look into all the National Cathedral-related matters. The Speaker of Parliament has also admitted this already. Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa is signaling this. He says that this is victory for accountability, and they'll be expecting that if this motion goes through, some key members will put before a committee to probe these matters.
But then, I mean, the feeling is that this issue came up at the time we're hearing the impeachment proceedings against the finance minister, for instance. Is it the estimation of the Speaker that matters were not exhaustive enough, a reason for which we are revisiting what's being described now by some as an age-old problem?
So the censure matter dealt mainly on Ofori Atta and whether or not he was fit to hold office. Of course, part of the grounds on which the minority sought to remove him from office was that he had unconstitutionally expended money for the National Cathedral project. It appears that the minority were not so happy with the answers that the finance minister gave, but also because the specific issues that were being dealt with at the time had to do with the finance minister as a whole, and the National Cathedral matters came as a subset. So they are not so happy with some of the answers the finance minister provided. They actually believe that, of course, Ofori Atta's lawyers at the committee level raise matters that if he says something is unconstitutional, you don't do that in Parliament. In the Supreme Court rule, they are the only persons clad with the power to be able to declare actions of governmental agencies as unconstitutional. And so they wanted that part of the motion to be struck out. And at some point, they were stood down. So the minority say that we need to have an investigation that focuses and narrows down on the National Cathedral project. We know that already more than 390 million Ghana cedis have been expended so far. They say that what the president said was that government was only going to pay what they call the seed money. That the amount.
Hello there, Kweku.
Should go to the bottom of this matter. And that this investigation should go to the bottom of this matter to be able to resolve some of these issues. And so next week or the ensuing weeks, if this motion goes through, there'll be a vote, there'll be a debate. If the minority are able to get the numbers and they win the debate on the motion, a committee will be
okay, just provide a bit of clarity for us on that issue. What would it then require now to have that go through?
So when this eventually is scheduled for debate on the floor, the minority will move their motion, someone will second it, it will be debated on both sides of the House. Then it will come down to a vote. Normally a voice vote, and if either side are not satisfied, a head count or a division. It goes on and on. And so at the end of the day, there will be a vote on that carries the vote will now get its say. So the minority are able to have their way when the votes come down. Then the Speaker of Parliament will constitute a committee, either an ad hoc committee or maybe refer to some of the standing or select committees. But the wording of the committee of this motion suggests that the minority wants an ad hoc committee. So an ad hoc committee of the form will be set. They will receive memoranda. They will hear from witnesses, and ultimately they will report back to the House as to what exactly their findings were. But the minority, I mean, from all that we are seeing so far, are looking at a certain political angle. They want this to go on and on. They want the public to know about some of the expenditures that have been made so far, which they say are not only unconstitutional, but points to a bigger case of government that's managing state resources.
Cool. I'm grateful. But just before you go, I understand that the majority side has been reacting to this. They are not too enthused about what's happening.
Indeed, yes. We heard first from the Honourable Sylvester Tete, the MP for English, Otiano Among. He says that this motion has come as a surprise. It seems like it's an ambush and that they are not so satisfied with it. The Speaker did not respond to those specific issues that he had, the minority leader did. But the Speaker will be at pain to explain that as Speaker of Parliament, he has the liberty to admit motions if he meets certain criteria. And once that is done, there will be no more questions.
Well, thanks, Kweku, for joining us. In fact, there's a lot more happening on this. We'll hear the minority side of the story when we return from this break. Kweku Rikitagan is my guest here on The Pulse. We're speaking to him in a jiffy. We're back.